Good evening, Facebook, on this beautiful, almost spring afternoon. Again, I have a few thoughts that I want to share, and it's my prayer that it benefits everyone that listens, or everyone that talks about it, or everyone that shares it on their page. Um, I want to begin with a statement, and that statement is that God has already paved the road. Our only responsibility is to follow the course. And I say this because so many of us have become so wrapped up in thinking that it's our responsibility to create our way, to make our way, so to speak. And while this sounds tough on the surface, in reality, it places too much of a burden on the human being because there's so many aspects of our life that we completely have no control over. So even our best decision may not necessarily turn out the way that we want it to turn out. So we can't honestly say that it's our responsibility to create our way or to make our way. The truth is that our way, for us as individuals as well as us collectively, has already been paid by God. It's our responsibility to follow the path. However, in order to do this, it takes one thing. One thing. It takes vision. It takes vision. And I want to take a second to speak directly to my brothers. To those of you that are the head of your relationships, your marriage, the head of your household, and I don't mean in the egotistical, male chauvinistic way, but I mean in the sense of order and structure. You have to have vision when no one else in your household does. You have to have vision when your wife doesn't. You have to have vision when your children doesn't, because God has given you the responsibility to lead the way to that path which He has already paved. And I want to share something with you to this extent. When my wife and I first looked at the home that we now own, it is over 1,400 square feet on the top floor and over 1,400 square feet on the bottom floor. And I say this not in boast, but I say it for a reason. The top floor was in excellent condition. There has been a lot of remodeling. It was airy, light, bright, spread out, and it left a good impression. However, things kind of changed for my wife when we went to the bottom floor, the basement level. It was a completed or full basement. However, because a pipe had busted, 3 feet of sheetrock had been removed from the wall, from baseboard up around the entire basement, and all of the carpeting had been pulled up. And because the home had sat on the market for several months, the basement had this closed-in odor. Immediately, my wife's reaction registered on her face. I smiled. Because as our agent, Diego, walked us through the basement, I saw that it consisted of a huge family room that was covered by this appearance of disorderliness, of incompleteness. We walked through the hallway, and whereas you could see the concrete wall from where the sheetrock had been moved, I saw an excellent space for a laundry room. But at the time, it was covered by disorderliness, incompleteness. We walked around to the kitchen, which leads to behind the bar. I saw an excellent opportunity to host family here, where we would need 2 stoves or 2 refrigerators to accommodate everyone. And the bar, although we don't drink, we were going to stock it with sodas and waters. I saw this, whereas my wife saw disorder and completeness. And we walked down the hall to the bedroom, which is joined by a full bathroom behind a closed door. When we walked in, I saw the opportunity for maybe an extra bedroom for visitors, or even a home gym, because that would resolve my time constraint problems. My wife saw incompleteness because, again, 3 feet of sheetrock were moving from the wall from baseboard up. The carpeting had been taken out, and it had that dank smell. Where she saw disorder and completeness, I saw potential for goodness, for expansion. Long story short, after some conversation, I convinced her that this would be a good move. And we purchased a home 4.5 months later, 4.5 agonizing but blessed months later. Last night I was in the process of completing my home gym in the basement area, the last project down there. And I've been fortunate enough or blessed enough by God to have been able to buy all of my equipment at very discounted prices. So I have equipment that's compatible with the average gym. Not only do I not have to pay now a monthly membership fee for myself, my wife, or my family, or contend with other things on my schedule, but also I have the convenience and the completeness that I would find anywhere else. And I looked around last night as I completed, which I will share it in a few days, God's willing, and I was grateful. I was grateful. All right. I didn't know anything about home repairs. I contacted individuals to help me. They promised they would. When things went down, they didn't. So what I did was I learned to do it myself. And it's an accomplishment that I will share until the day that I die. I thank God. I thank the input of my father and for those that did care enough to say, hey, this is how you do it. But the home is basically now complete. My point is this. When my wife walked into this home, her initial reaction was good. When we went to the lower level, her initial reaction was bad. But as the man, I had to see beyond the surface. I had to look beneath the chaos of what was downstairs and see the completion, because God had already completed it for me. It was just my responsibility to get us on that path that would lead to that completion. And right now, my wife, as well as myself, our daughter couldn't be happier. We love our home. It's beautiful. It's everything that we want it to be in terms of having the space to entertain family. God had already laid the path, or paved the path. We just had to follow the course. My point is this, brothers, you have a responsibility of having vision. Stop expecting everything to look perfect from the beginning. You don't have the responsibility of making or creating anything. What your responsibility is to find the path that God has already paved. And in order to do that, you have to have vision. You have to see beneath the brush. You have to see beneath the incompleteness. And you have to see a beautiful picture. And once you see that picture, you have to convince your family that that picture is there. And once you convince them that it's there, it's your responsibility, not your friend, not your homeboy, not your maintenance man. It's your responsibility to make that vision a reality. And what you don't know how to do, pray, ask God for help, seek aid, and I guarantee you, you will develop the ability to do it, whatever it is, because that road has already been paved. It's just your responsibility to follow the path. And this applies to everything from your wife's personality to your kids' behavior to whether or not the house is clean when you come home. Stop seeing the chaos on the surface and know that you have to have enough vision to see the perfection that God had already placed within that situation. And you have to have the leadership ability to lead your family to that path. Talk to your wife, get to understand her. Why is her personality the way it is? Maybe the change need to be made in you and the way that you perceive her. Talk to your kids. Perhaps it's something that you're not doing that's causing them to act out. Are you helping them with their homework? Are you going to school events and activities? Are you taking time to play with them, to hold them? Perhaps it's you that are not help leading them to the path that God has already laid. For you sisters, if you come home and you're dissatisfied with what you see in your household and what you see with your husband, then perhaps you need to get with him, talk with him, encourage him to create a vision for your family. That vision will it's guaranteed that vision will lead you to a path that God has already laid. See, it's not a one-sided thing. When we're weak, you have to encourage us. Guide us back to that path of strength. For men, when you realize that you lack vision, know that it's not because God has failed you. Know that it's not because God hasn't given you a path like he has given the next man, but it's because you yourself have not taken on the responsibility of leading yourself and your family to that path that has already been laid. You don't have the responsibility of making things happen, of making your life right. God has done that for you. You have the responsibility of finding your way, looking beneath the chaos, the disorderliness, looking beneath the smell of staleness, and saying, I see perfection. Then pursuing that perfection for yourself, for your family. There's goodness for each and every one of us. That path of success has already been paid by God. It's our responsibility to simply to follow that path. It takes vision for the women. It takes support. And it's guaranteed you will get to that place that God has already created for you. I love you.